Buon pomeriggio a tutti, benvenuti.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this now traditional appointment. The Club Orafi Italia works together with Intesa Sanpaolo, and this is a very important meeting celebrating our 20 years of cooperation with Intesa Sanpaolo, able to provide entrepreneurs and managers with tools that allow them to apply new strategies, especially in complex periods like our recent months and years. I mean, think about the price of gold. Gold has reached amazing highs, and Daniela will probably tell us that the gold rush is not over. So think about President Trump's tariffs. On his Liberation Day, he freed everybody except for entrepreneurs, and so on and so forth. So also the recent meeting of the BRICS countries, that does not give us hope for a global world. So the instruments and the analysis made by the Centro Studi Intesa Sanpaolo together with the economic analysis at Club Degli Orafi Italy always carries out to the advantage of our members on a biennial rhythm. Well, all this hopefully help us find some sort of orientation in these difficult moments. So I would like to thank all the speakers, our director, Laura Biason, will introduce them. And let me thank Luigi Marostica. So, of course, I would like to thank you all, but it is an honor to have Luigi here with us today, Managing Director of Karizia and Vice President of Federorafi, with the mandate for internationalization, who will present his own personal experience as an entrepreneur working abroad. So, thank you very much to Maurizio Forte, Augusto Ungarelli, Stefania Trenti, Daniela Corsini, and I wish you all profitable proceedings. Thank you. Thank you very much, President. And thank you very much to all of you for being here, speakers and audience. My very special thanks go to Maurizio Forte, because he was actually passing by and we grabbed him. Oh, please, can we have one extra microphone for Dr. Forte? Is that possible? No, we got only 4. You're right. I'll give him my microphone. Wonderful. Thank you. Elena, if you manage, you can bring the microphone. Right. So he was actually just passing by, and we decided to grab him and have him with us, because this is a very important day, the first of our 2 days together. Cristina, let me anticipate this, because if some may leave before the end, please be aware that tomorrow at 2 p.m. there will be a continuation about export and the new strategies of export of companies with the analysis of alternative markets, additive markets compared to the usual ones, and a detailed presentation of the instruments provided by the Italian government. But today, we have the good luck of having Dr. Forte here with us. This is why we decided to grab him and bring him inside our room. So if you do not have any urgent commitment, I would like to start with a brief overview. Of course. Thank you very much. Just a few words to define the context. Today we're presenting a general geopolitical context that we're going to analyze a trend in our industry and the sentiment of entrepreneurs in the gold jewelry industry. And then we will listen to Dr. Forte of ICE and Mr. Luigi Marostica, who will bear the witness of a company. He will be the testimonial as being the leader of a company that has been exporting for years with great success. Why did we decide to stress these topics today? because it is not so much a matter of duties or tariffs, but it is a matter of uncertainty. Let me show you this. These are all prints of the articles of the main newspapers, Milano Finanza, Italia Oggi, Repubblica, Corriere, and La Stampa, and Il Sole 24 Ore, and the best known journalists. So these are the most important articles on tariffs since January. So this is crazy. So much information. So much has been written about it. So we have to filter this because entrepreneurs cannot read all this. And very often, information is also discordant and conflicting. I mean, if you go through all these articles one after the other, it's like a horror movie. Because in one you find one data, the article of the very same day by a different journalist claims the contrary. So any possible figure is mentioned. It's like playing lotto. So how can an entrepreneur define his own enterprise strategy? Uncertainty kills entrepreneurial planning, strategic planning. But maybe we can provide you with a reading key that possibly reflects reality, following on this course that has been lasting for 20 years and hopefully will last for another 20 years. And we aim at providing you with a picture which is as realistic and as real as possible so that you can truly make your own strategic planning. So much information. This is bad for the market and for the entrepreneurs. But also for the market, as I said, because when uncertain, consumers do not spend their money. So it would be so nice to be a little bit more sober, focusing on the most consistent figures, even though they may not sound so great or so terrible. But we're going to do that thanks to the think tank of Intesa Sanpaolo. And without further ado, I do not want to steal any more time away from you, and I'll leave the floor to Daniela Corsini, who is an expert in the field of research for Intesa Sanpaolo on the topic of commodities. And she has also amazing geopolitical insight. She is always able to provide us with a perfect picture. And ever since we got to know her, we have kept her amongst our speakers. And we keep inviting her. So, Daniela, we know that gold is an indicator, it is a dashboard, so to say, telling us much about the geopolitical situation. Can you expand on this?
Thank you very much. I'd like to refer to the words uncertainty and contradiction that you mentioned, referring to financial markets. On the left, stock market in the US, in Europe, and in Italy. Notwithstanding the record levels and geopolitical problems, uncertainty in terms of currencies and taxes, the US market is a record market, and the same goes for Europe. Why stock exchange doing records and the economy is performing pretty well? Well, this is due to the fact that, protection goods are upward. Gold is at top levels, and same for silver since 2011. So financial markets are saying, well, so far so good. No problems on the horizon. But beware, because we are walking on thin ice. The same from a macroeconomic point of view. These are the points of the report of Intesa Sanpaolo, September. a resilient landscape. What has changed is the reliability, the likelihood that this comes true, much less than in the past, because there are many unknown factors which are a burden on the economic scenario. If we were to select a few indicators, we should have inflation, monetary policies, US dollar. Inflation and Europe have two diverging inflation rates. The US can still go up on 3-4%, but it might even go much higher. At the same time, the pressures of the Trump administration to the central bank to cut the rates with the risk of stimulating inflation spiral. There, the dollar is getting weaker. That was unexpected at the beginning of the year, but we expect that it could continue 1 to 20 against the euro. That weakening reflects the lack of confidence to the American administration and the inability of central banks to remain independent as they were along their history. A strong negative correlation between dollar and gold, which is there. Dollar and gold are based on the same factors. In particular, we are very much concerned about the possible independence of the Fed and the lack of equilibriums in the world. New balances are formed, or new imbalances are. The last week has been very indicative. Trump will reappoint the Department of Defense, which will be called Department of War, a name which was abandoned in 47. Then the military parade in China, where the BRIC presidents shook hands with Xi Jinping. So new balances are being created. So the American markets will lose weight in the international scenario. And then the unipolarism of the US, which was there since the Second World War, the world will be multipolar, multi-fragmented. These transition processes can generate frictions, and that will go to the benefit of very practical and concrete goods such as gold. In the financial world, cryptocurrencies consider gold as a reserve good. It's not by chance that the same companies issuing cryptocurrencies are favoring the mining sector. That means that in the end, looking for a concrete fluid asset will continue. Contrary to what happened a few months ago, I was more cautious. I expected a stabilization for 1.5 years till the beginning of 26. Now we are waiting for a substantial increase in the price of gold because the attack of Trump to Fed changed the cards. For the first time, we are really doubtful that Fed could continue to perform its role. Probably that will increase the interest rates, pushing inflation, and making the dollar less credible. New geopolitical balances are such that central banks are beginning to buy. Data date back to the first half of this year, but we had purchases equal to the whole 21, more than 2020, and close to the previous historical average. The majority of these purchases are not official, so we don't know which are the central banks buying gold. Indeed, China is in the lead, but many others are participating in this movement. Then financial markets, They are going up, but people are looking for protection. On the right, we see that ETFs, i.e., the funds which are exchanged which are backed up by physical gold, are increasing the purchase gold in assets because the demand is on the increase. In the past, in financial portfolios, gold was 10%. Now, also private sector are waiting for gold to go up because they feel that the trend can continue. So they let this price increase go. As you see on the left, till mid-24, there was a drop in assets because any time that gold was 5–10% of portfolios, it was sold. Then they decided no longer to sell, waiting for a further increase. So that is increasing the values. There are downward trends. This is the other side of the medal. When prices are high, jewelry, discretional demand, physical gold, not for investment, are suffering. We see a major reduction in 24 in global demand, minus 11% on jewelers, plus a minus of 21%, and then less 14%. And the data of the third quarter confirm this descent. But the negative portion of jewels will not be enough to prevent new price rallies. 3,600 to 3,800 is expected, and indeed the likelihood that that happens is less than in the past. So if the announcement on the American side are cause of concern, gold might go up to $4,000, and the same for silver. Platinum and palladium have very unexpected and violent movements guided by the physical demand in China. China is a very important market for platinum jewelry. After the end of April, Goldsmith in China decided to move from gold and platinum partially. So imports have increased, a unique trend. Less jewels in China with lower margins, less sales, so they are looking for segmentation of profits. That's why they decided to replace gold with platinum, and that is a good choice. Palladium at the beginning went up for the expectations concerning the automotive, but in the end, since the automotive is a critical sector, palladium went up and probably will remain at the same levels. You will receive the slides and the conversion tables, euro, gram, European currency, and so on. Probably everything is in the upward trend. Thank you very much. As Dr. Corsini said, you'll find the papers on our website tomorrow afternoon or Sunday. Some of you are taking pics, but don't worry, you'll find all the papers which have been screened. Stefania Trenti, Chief Economist at Intesa Sanpaolo, a good friend. She has been following up us for 20 years, and she will talk about the usual analysis and also the point of view of your fund managers. We had the opportunity to study exports and export markets tomorrow. Today we want to have a comparison. We discovered 6 months ago The jewelry is in a counter trend as compared with the fashion sector.
Exactly. We decided to expand our glance in this complex moment to make a comparison with other industries that relate to fashion, since we believe that gold jewelry is fashion. So let me start with this graph that has the keyword in its title, uncertainty. This graph, this diagram, tries to measure geopolitical uncertainty. And as you can see, in the month of April, the index of uncertainty has peaked, something unparalleled in our historical series. It has gone down a little bit after April, after the Liberation Day, but the lending level is still at a level of uncertainty, which is higher than the beginning of the COVID pandemics, which was a moment when every one of us did not know what would have happened. Right, we're more or less at that level as far as the uncertainty index is concerned. The epicenter is, of course, the new Trump administration and the series of decisions that they are introducing and making. So not just the duties, the tariffs, but, as Daniela rightly said, also the significant attack to the Federal Reserve, migration, public debt. So a whole series of elements that are producing a lot of uncertainty, together, of course, with the strategic and geopolitical tensions. However, let's now confine ourselves to tariffs. Tomorrow we will have a specific focus on tariffs. But of course, Italy and Germany are the European economies that are most significantly exposed to the American market, with a weight of approximately 10%. And in this context, fashion is one of the industries that view the US as their reference market, with consumers that have specific features, that spend quite a lot of money, a very important market. In 2024, the weight of the US on the Italian jewelry export amounted to 9.3%, approximately. This is a little bit exceptional because we all know that 2024 was the year of Turkey, and the United States in 2023 had a greater weight, 13%. So this graph is a little bit biased, but the exposure of gold jewelry and fashion jewelry towards the United States is slightly higher. It is not at the level of leather goods, for instance, but it is still a very important market. Maybe some of you remember that in the 90s, the US had a weight of 30% on the Italian export, accounting for 1/3 of the Italian export. So times have changed. This is both good and bad, but that 13% of 2023 has now gone down a little bit. So just 1 minute to explain our estimate into greater detail. This is a theoretical impact that has been calculated. How did we calculate this? We took data, external data from those institutes that calculate the level of elasticity and resilience of the American import with regard to prices. Of course, if the price goes up, some people may decide not to buy that given item, claiming they cannot afford that anymore. They don't want to buy it anymore. So elasticity is the relationship between a price change and the quantity sold. With these statistical data and with the levels of the Italian export in 2024, it is possible, and knowing also the delta, so the price increase of approximately 15%. This is the latest information available. So in this case, so if the European Parliament does not approve of the agreement reached in Scotland, if the court does not prevent Trump from proceeding, well, our industry would suffer a minus 0.6% of the overall export, approximately 90 million euro. This is significant. Maybe it has been underestimated because that 15% of tariff should be added to the devaluation of the dollar that will continue in the future. Of course, we sell in euros, so that's an issue as well. So it is possible that the impact is something more than what you can see here. Conversely, the analysis of the gold jewelry industry shows that this could have been underestimated because the elasticity, which is our reading key, is an average. It is a mean value. The elasticity of top-of-the-range made-in-Italy jewelry might be different from the elasticity of a non-top-of-the-range piece of jewelry coming from India. India is another factor. Right now, India has a tariff of 50%. So the situation could be much worse for India. We're all talking about relative prices. So our jewelry, paradoxically, could become more affordable than the Indian ones. And then we have the third effect, which is that of politics. Companies do not always decide to transfer the price increase on consumers. Agreements could be struck between Italian manufacturers, American buyers, American importers. So agreements could be made that may allow for the price increase to be only partially transferred onto the final consumer. Last but not least, we all know what happens when tariffs are imposed on the import of gold ingots, physical gold. We've seen this last year. There are also other cases in history, but the case of Turkey last year is very, very clear. And the Trump administration is actually introducing much higher tariffs on the physical gold coming from Switzerland. So anything could happen. And on top of that, the capability of the Italian companies to react is probably underevaluated. 90 million euro worth of jewelry sold in the United States could be off-balanced by sales in other markets. Triangulations should be eluded by the Trump mechanism. So we all know that it is possible to find a way. And we have 195 other countries in the world. Exactly, 195 other countries in the world. And the most obvious reaction is to go and find other markets. My very last point, and then I will move on to the next subject, is that we have to be very, very careful amongst the many decisions made by Mr. Trump with the big, beautiful bill that also poses a question mark on the American accounts. Well, this has actually confirmed the tax exemption for the wealthiest Americans. So high-income consumers may be totally indifferent to a price increase by 15% on the Italian gold jewelry. And that's all for the moment as far as tariffs are concerned. But tariffs and uncertainty are actually leading to a changing perspective. We have all become more cautious. This is why we have focused on the data of our bank regarding the expectations of financial analysts. Those colleagues of ours that have a different job because they actually follow listed companies and express their own predictions regarding these companies' turnovers, the trends, the growth, and the whole financial performance, margins, profits, dividends, which all in all is the key aspect when you look at a listed company. So what do financial analysts all over the world claim? These are against mean values, but they're supported by a plethora of observations. As far as the turnover is concerned, 2025 will see no growth in the fashion industry. Sportswear, shoe wear, especially sporty shoe wear, two industries that have suffered significantly of the tariffs decisions. Pure gold jewelry, there are some Italian listed companies that produce jewelry only, and the big luxury players, where the jewelry component is becoming increasingly more significant. Well, these two entities have better prospects compared to the fashion industry in general, both in terms of turnover and in terms of margins. For this reason, if we observe this from a geographical viewpoint, we can say that financial analysts today believe that fashion players in the US are taking the bigger risk because the whole value chain may collapse. And the Asian players, the manufacturing partners of many American fashion designers. But this doesn't really affect gold jewelry because we're talking about different value chains. Made in Italy plays a significant role. This is why prospects for Europe are better. Daniela showed us before the macroeconomic prospects, and we have to say that the European market will probably do a little bit better in the second half of 25 and even more so in 2026. So amongst the new markets to explore, well, we find markets that are closer to us, they're easier to approach, such as the European market. What is actually happening in the gold jewelry industry? Well, we all know that the gold jewelry industry has grown exceptionally. We have had a significant wave of growth. In blue, you see the turnover index that has actually peaked. In 2024, it held its position in the first quarter, and then it started showing some negative signs with a significant diversion regarding the production index. So this delta has increased, and there are signs showing that the turnover, in other words, revenues, are decreasing, and they are moving into negative ground since April, since the Liberation Day and the announcement of tariffs. Conversely, in the first 6 months, we have observed a reduction by 2.7%, and we do not expect any significant change in the short term. But you saw this before. Just like the financial analysts, we also expect a 2025 characterized by a downturn in revenues and some possible improvement in 2026. So Daniela has already mentioned the drop in the world demand of gold jewelry. Specifically, demand has decreased in those markets where consumers focus on prices. And talking about large quantities in India and China, we can see that there is a bigger impact linked to the peaking gold price. So the worldwide situation of the gold jewelry market shows a downward trend. This is a significant downward trend, especially in some markets. But all in all, given the complex context at the moment, yes, it is true, export has decreased significantly. Here we can see our data up to May, minus 17%, 19 in terms of quantities. But if we keep Turkey aside, which was the reason for the plus 50% of the previous year, and if you consider the first 6 months of the year, we can say that quantities are still holding, and we have a mild positive signal in terms of value, and this is a sign of significant competitive strength. But we will deepen this aspect tomorrow. So it is clear that the reduction of the Turkish demand has had a significant impact, and we are already negative as far as the United States are concerned. The market has actually come to a standstill, and the significant peak of the past is actually retracing. Just a few words regarding our area. The fair always takes place 1 week before the publication of the instant data. So we need to ask ISTAT to anticipate the publication of their data, or we should postpone the fair. So on the 12th of September, we will know more about the second quarter, but now we have to focus only on the first quarter, and we can see that the Turkey effect has significantly influenced the local manufacturing companies that last year had actually benefited of the positive Turkish impact. Let me close with a significant point. So all these estimates have produced many different kinds of figures and data. We're very cautious. There is a lot of theory in reality, but what matters right now is the resilience of companies and their reaction capability. This is an extract of a survey that we carry out together with our colleagues, the managers, with approximately 500,000 customers in all the different industries. So I know that we have colleagues here in this room, and I would like to thank them for providing us with these data. We have an amazing response rate, and this allows us to put together significant results, because this is a viewpoint of companies, even though it has been mediated by bank operators. So there is a lot of attention to investment and to production processes, and there is a lot of attention and a great reaction capability, especially in the fashion industry and especially in the gold jewelry industry, focusing on increased efficiency, innovation, opening of new affiliates, looking for customers in other areas of the world, which is very important given the climate of uncertainty. So the situation, as far as investments are concerned, is pretty lively. Stefania and the customers of Intesa Sanpaolo are customers of every possible size. So we can say that this picture is not only referring to large companies. I mean, how many customers did you say? 500,000 companies of every possible size. Yes, and here with us we have our retail colleagues. And, this has to do with trade, craftsmanship, retail. It is a very exhaustive sample, and sometimes very interesting results occur, like the desire to invest given the present situation. And this is what we're going to talk about tomorrow, exactly. Because right now I would like to give the floor to Augusto Ungarelli, past president of Vendorafa Lombardi, and with the mandate with the Centro Studi. He supports us in this wonderful journey through figures and strategies, and he's been working with Intesa Sanpaolo for a long time. Augusto, today you are presenting the sentiment of the actors in the field. But there is one point that I would like to stress. For the first time, we have received an amazing quantity of responses of reactions, more than 80. Usually, we have approximately 30, 40 responses. But this is very positive. Number one, because, of course, the sample becomes more representative in statistical terms. But this also shows that entrepreneurs want to speak up, to count, to tick the box, claiming maybe I am very small, but I want to say what I need to 40. Tomorrow we will listen to the results of another questionnaire that pertains to internationalization strategies. And we thought that very few entrepreneurs would provide us with answers, but actually also non-exporting companies responded, stating we do not export, but we are interested, and they want to know about the instruments we mentioned provided by the government associations and agencies. And we realize that there is a strong need and desire to be heard and to learn more. This is why we decided to keep the two events separate. Augusto, what do your entrepreneur colleagues tell us? Which is the sentiment?
Thank you very much. I'm glad that I can share this very important survey, one we are repeating yearly with the support of the Club of Orafi and the Study Center of Intesa Sanpaolo. Taking the floor after Stefania and Daniela is very demanding. I'm here to talk about the sentiment of entrepreneurs, a summary of that. Entrepreneurs are those who are often alone and have to decide. Talk with a friend, read the newspaper, and rarely do have the support that we heard of today. This is happening during crisis, during successful times. Entrepreneurs are those who are supposed to be problem solvers. If they don't, they end up in facing worse problems. Years ago, at the Club of Orafi, we decided to talk to each other as if we were in a pub. Entrepreneurs are often alone. We made an attempt to understand what people feel. Their sentiment is successful. So people feel that they are not alone. We asked questions to the entrepreneurs, and they are many as compared with past initiatives. We have producers, traders, so a whole variety of figures. We have a world, an entire world who has answered. The first question we asked is, how is 25 performing against 24? The question was asked in June, not in January, so mid-year, and the questionnaire was closed in July. Don't look at the numbers that you have just heard in accurate percentages. These are sentiments. Blue was the sentiment in December. Orange is how they feel. These are not figures. That means that in June survey, small companies tended to say that they would have had more sales than January. Not the same thing for medium big companies. They had expected less continuity with the numbers of the January. But in the end, So in the end, the bottom line is the same. So all the sentiments that we have surveyed, in a way or the other, confirm the expectations that we had for this year. So having heard Stefania and Daniela, well, that raises a doubt. Are those who answered correct? Are they right? So what we derive from the sentiment from people who are daily working on things are not so on the negative side. And this is good, because entrepreneurs are not mathematicians. They have to make decisions and look for solutions, and that means actions. We also asked other questions to entrepreneurs. Remember what Daniela said. Till 2024, i.e. from the post-COVID to 2024, we had an incredible growth in terms of export, raw material value. Everything was a plus. Now, after years of relevant growth, one company out of three thinks they can confirm the values of 2024. That means that, notwithstanding what we hear around, entrepreneurs who answered are still confident in the future. These are the people who showed interest in the foreign market, i.e. the majority of companies, and those who are still interested in the domestic market. So this sort of balance achieved is a general sentiment of the panel we consulted. Then we asked a question, i.e. what is the performance of investments in 25 against 24 based on production phases? We had different answers. Micro and small companies are on the same values of 24, whereas the medium big companies indeed experienced a major difference. That means that people continue to invest. So they want to invest. So combining all the answers, we still do have a positive value, plus 10 over 24. Here we have food for thought. At a time when we have lots of information, as Laura said, some are good, some are bad, so people indeed are not able to understand what's real or not. Here we have something clear. People put money and continue to have their companies grow. They do believe in the primary element. That is, if I spend money, is because I want to invest, I try to improve, or I'm trying to give new energy to my company. This is what we saw, and we tried to understand why. What are the main factors influencing internal demand? Why are we investing money? You see the first four bars, that is outlet markets. There is a structural problem connected with other components, but more or less those who answered identified the evolution of internal demand, strengthening the image, evolution of foreign demand and competition. The first four bars indeed are connected with the idea of improving the sales. We also asked other questions concerning investments and their results. What are the most important factors influencing the development of investments? We had very varied answers. Those who do trade, well, the evolution of domestic demand is a key element. Italy had a domestic market, but also a large share of high-quality tourism and so on. Look at the color of the first bars. The blue is that connected with the trade element. They will have an impact on domestic demand, image, competition. All these elements are sending the signal that I have just described. What about production? Well, there the evolution of domestic demand is important, but not as much as the foreign demand. So the evolution, the performance will depend on the evolution of international markets. So investments are made for that. Another important element is this. We asked, what are the main difficulties that companies are facing? This reflects the daily activities and the daily limitations that entrepreneurs face. The performance of domestic demand is still a priority point. The orange bars do have the same features. I'm still referring to trading and the need to export. Ranking second, we have a blue bar. That is the financial aspect, cost of raw materials. Gold as a raw material is the one most affecting that answer. Ranking fourth, and the difficulties we have the American tariffs. But they don't have the same impact of the previous bars. 50, 52, the previous bars, 22 here. So the perception, as Stefania said, is also connected with the opportunity to reach a market. In the tariffs are there, they are reason of concern, but in a way or the other, producing and selling there is considered possible. There is another important element. If you attended the previous meeting and the last but one, when we asked this question, the main difficulty was the one that is now ranking sixth, labor. The value is 16. The first and the second are 55. So finding labor is indeed significant. The problem has not been solved. However, entrepreneurs are less concerned about that as compared to the previous editions. Maybe 2 years, no, 1 year, I would say. So the outcomes of the initiatives undertaken when labor was the issue That means that initiatives are successful. Claudia Piaserico, during the opening ceremony, stated that many initiatives have been undertaken. In Valenza, Mani Intelligenti did a lot. And this because an awareness campaign was made that indeed generated a positive response. If you don't have orders, you reduce, you go down, and you don't hire. So the issue of labor is still there. I hope that this has been solved partially. That will be considered in other studies we are conducting. Main difficulties based on their size, the usual known, the average big orange. We see the cost of raw materials, less high-spending consumers. These are key issues for micro and small companies. For medium, large companies, if you consider U.S. tariffs, that's important from the performance of Asian demand, American demand, and European demand. Adding them up is a reason of concerns for the markets who have tariff barriers. They will be affected by a number of things. There is another element mentioned by Stefania. It's the exchange rate, dollar and euro. The main difficulties that are getting worse show that, as we saw, the major difficulties in June, we know that the cost of raw materials is the one having the highest impact. Domestic demand, trading, and so on are the things which indeed are still there together with the U.S. tariffs. So the geopolitical instability, Trump, and so on. The price of gold is an issue. This is sentiment, not numbers. My last slide. Is there a risk that your company loses competitiveness? The answer is no risk, ranking first. Others say other Italian producers. They are not so influential on the answer. Why? Well, entrepreneurs know the production structure and its value very well, be it Vicenza, Arezzo, Valenza, Milan, Turin. So the challenge for the future is knowing that we do have the tools to be competitive, that to maintain the creative, productive, and trading capacity which we have appreciated. Italian companies are successful abroad. This is a positive element in a landscape with a lot of negative elements, but there is a clear indication that companies are willing to continue to invest. And that's a good sign for the future of the industry. And this is the sentiment, not numbers. Thank you.
Il quadro è chiaro.
The picture is clear, and it is not all as gloomy as we might have expected. did. Dr. Forte has no presentation because he didn't know that he would be involved in this. But I have to say that since prospects are not that negative, is also related to what I read today on Business and Fashion, which is an international magazine, that is talking about luxury reset, predicting from 2026 onwards an improvement in the luxury industry at international level. So maybe the sentiment that we have perceived as not something happening by chance, but it is something shared. So Maurizio Forte is the director of the ICE expert sectors, a former director for New York, Shanghai, and Moscow. I wanted him to stop here with us because, Augusto told us before that entrepreneurs are alone. Let me correct you, Augusto. Entrepreneurs feel alone, but they're not alone. There are professionals like the people working at ICE and other governmental organizations such as Siemens, Cassa Depositi e Prestiti, the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Made in Italy. So these people maybe are not all that well known, but they play a very important role. And it is an honor to have Mr. Maurizio Forte here with us, a person who has done a lot in Shanghai, Moscow, New York, crossways of trade. So Maurizio, quickly, could you please tell us what you think about the present situation? Tomorrow we will go into the technical details, but just like I would like to ask Luigi Marostica, how do you feel? Is the ICE ready to support these companies that still want to invest and are investing, notwithstanding the uncertainty, notwithstanding the bureaucratic complexity? They harmonized the table of those 5,000 American custom items. It used to consist of 3 columns in the past. One column was for WTO countries, one was for other countries, and then there was a third column. Now we got 150, so 750,000 possible combinations. This brings us up to 3 million combinations. That's a lot of uncertainty. So all this red tape, I believe, is terrorizing entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are not afraid of having to work, of throwing their heart behind the obstacles. They're afraid of bureaucracy, red tape, papers, legal issues. Are you ready to go on in this difficult and uncertain moment, to go on supporting these new processes, these new destination markets? First of all, thank you very much for the kind introduction. I could also stand up and go away after all the beautiful things you have said about me. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I always say that the relationship between companies and institutions is always a difficult one in the best case. But when I'm here, I really do feel at home. And let me tell you this, I feel amongst friends, Arezzo, Tari, Club Degli Orafi, all the different associations. I can feel the harmony and the desire to tackle issues together, which is uncommon in the Italian industrial world. So Augusto was optimistic in his final remarks, and I would like to go on this note. We have tried, and unlike companies, I have to say, we are slower, less reactive, and our promotional programs have a 12, 18 months time horizon. So you cannot change every day depending on the newspaper article you're reading. So we have tried to hold our position and to charge on with our promotional activities, bearing some fundamental guidelines in mind. The first guideline, and I'm glad to hear that the sentiment is confirming this, is that companies want to export, need to export, and they are confident about exporting. They invest with a glance towards international markets. 70% of companies is focusing on foreign demand with a positive attitude. This means that export, for those who, like us, work with export and are lucky enough to work with export, still is a very strong pillar in Made in Italy, in the Made in Italy manufactured goods. Italy has to maintain its manufacturing skills, because without manufacturing, we would not progress. So we have worked very hard. And the worst possible thing that a public agency can do is that of aiming at being the director, explaining to entrepreneurs how to organize their enterprises and how to sell. So we've done the contrary. We have asked companies and entrepreneurs to tell us about this. Of course, there's many of you, and we cannot listen to each one of you, so we had to listen to some of your representatives, and hence the problem that some people feel unheard of and view us as people sitting on a chair in Rome doing nothing. I understand that you might have this feeling, but we listened to the companies representing your industry, and we've done what you usually do as entrepreneurs. I mean, if you have good, solid customers who might be whimsical and buy more one year, less the following year, but still being loyal, you try to keep them with you. And this is the case at the American market, because with all the difficulties we will have to tackle, with all the crazy measures that are being adopted, many of you, and you must think you're very lucky, because think about those selling machinery and equipment, having to certify the quantity of aluminium and steel, where the aluminium and steel come from, where they've been produced, where they've been sold. Can you imagine what they have to face? But having said this, this is the yours is the top quality market. So Made in Italy provides top quality items, and in the future, this is a market that will grow more. And we have to still focus on the US market. That's why we have a lot of promotional activities on the American market. And we have reached already significant figures. So we're organizing fairs, and we are present at the fairs that are being organized. We participate in them. And then, of course, just like you would do for your company, we also try to find new markets, new customers. Replacing one customer with the other does not really work that well. But adding a market to your usual ones is a significant step. So last year, for instance, this was a prompt coming from you, not only from our government, but with the Mattei plan, we started working together with Africa. We have examined 8 different markets, and there will be results in the future, I believe. The Arab Emirates 30 years ago were not as important as they are today, so with time things change. So pay attention to emerging markets. Pay attention to some areas. Think about Mercosur, that with the agreement that will take place will provide us with great opportunities. There are industries, such as the food industry, that are pretty worried about the present situation. So this is the line that we are following, the course that we're following. We're working very, very hard, and we're here in Vicenza with IEG and with Vicenza and Arezzo, because, and I said this several times, so I apologize for repeating myself, being a leader in manufacturing, being a leader in the exhibition area is very important, because this means being the leader in the way to attract the world to your event, because you're able to provide contents, quality, innovation, which is exactly what IAG is doing. And congratulations also for the Vicenza Symposium that has been a grand event. So we're still investing a lot in this industry. And let me tell you, that compared to your percentage wage in terms of export, the proportional investment of ICE is higher compared to other industries. So you deserve this, because promotional funds that are located in industry must be matched by project capabilities and proposals and companies following the investment made. So we intend to go on in this direction. Of course, funds are always limited. I'm talking about public funds. Let's try not to waste them. We try to use them in the best possible way together with you. And we try to keep calm regarding the different geographic areas, because this is not something that you change overnight. So hold what you have and expand somewhere else. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I believe that I can speak also on behalf of the other organizations represented in this room. Thank you. Thank you very much, because your support is qualified support and help. And we know that we're very lucky in this industry, especially those who, like me, come from different sectors. We realize this, but it is only fair, because our entrepreneurs have special needs and they need special attention. And they make up in the fashion industry, which is second in terms of export after mechanics. These are really reasons to be proud of. So we're very glad to talk to you also on behalf of the other associations represented here in this room. So thank you very much also for spending your time with us. Thank you for accepting to join us. This is my duty. That's the answer that a public officer should give. Thank you. Thank you very much. I would never take that for granted. Luigi Marostica, last but not least. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. They're telling me that we need to be brief, and we will be brief.
Tutto Maurizio.
Well, Maurizio said it all. So he made a perfect summary. Well, Luigi Marostica is the CEO of Karizia Spa. You know him very well. Deputy President of Federorafi, the project on internationalization. Since Karizia was founded, you are the person in charge of foreign markets. So with Cristina, we decided to invite you. Not everyone is getting international. There are companies that are not exporting. They are to get started. We would like to give these companies some ideas on part of experts in exporting. So do you think that the sentiment we presented is right? Well, some of them, others more or less. There is uncertainty. The only certain thing is uncertainty. I am a pessimist by nature. Some of you are laughing. You know, you are there to start writing a new book at the beginning of the year, and then I relax on the 29th of December. If people ask me, how are things going? Well, I'm always afraid of uncertainty. Well, I got started when silver was $3 per pound and the dollar 300. So anytime you had, you know, a crisis, I was afraid that we were to stop. No, we are still here. I have been supported by ambition, the idea of growing, compared with companies which were already settled in the market. So I had to grow at all costs. So the entrepreneur was alone and is no longer alone. Maurizio, whom I had the opportunity to know in the past 4 years, did a lot thanks to the Agenzia ICE. The tools that the Agenzia can give are many. So to the companies who want to grow, you know, get information, look forward, stop and ask for help. They gave me a lot. I had the data for the larger distributors. We opened in the US, we are in France, Canada. There are other markets, but they are helping us, so just ask for help. Indeed, Intesa Sanpaolo is a sort of supplier, but they are. They are a very good partner, and here we have them as colleagues. You have to have a lot of passion and perseverance. So in the end, it's like a loop. You have to go on, go on, go on. What should we do to reach the heart of foreigners as Italians? Well, I can only speak about myself. Over the years, Karizia is not a brand, but we have grown. I have tried to support them and push the Made in Italy. That is not to be taken for granted. All my products are branded, Made in Italy. They have a tag. When you meet the customer and they say, I can buy that in India, but we can offer that in Italy because we have passion, beauty. We can convey that there is something, some passion, history behind. The names we give to chain shops and so on to give added value, you can convey something more because we are Italians. So Italy should not be scared. In the 3 days of the symposium, we saw new machinery, new technologies, new applications. We get there first. So we have to be able to exploit this time advance and to be able to get a position in the market. So Made in Italy has still additional value. So we are leaders and the others are followers. Yes, it has an added value and it's very important. So indeed, sponsor the Italian flag. Thank you for this interesting suggestion. A question you can say, I won't answer. How are you planning to manage the tariffs? Will you cut the margins, absorb costs with others? Well, we spoke about sales. That means nothing because we sell by weight. That means less quantities. We are not selling by item. We sell based on grams, no markup there, apart from fees. So we work on manufacturing. So we have a very precise position with customers who said, we are not accepting tariffs. And we told them, yeah, it's your president who wanted tariffs. So they understood and they accepted. We are working on an equal footing with many other countries, so I'm not I can't say that I am scared. We are cautious. We have to be careful. But we do believe in the industry. And hope that next year I can talk about the new company. The surface area has been doubled. So I told I am a pessimist, but we'll see me also in the next 2 decades. So I hope that the industry, which has given a lot to the many, can continue. Nice message. A suggestion to overcome uncertainty as a pessimist. I can't answer. My brother would say, enjoy a glass of good wine. I don't drink alcohol, so I can't answer. It's a nice answer, I mean that of your brother. So thank you very much, everyone for attending. Thank you for remaining here. Best wish from the President. Enjoy the trade fair. See you tomorrow at 2 o'clock.